Good evening, everybody. Everybody woken up in here. Want to call to order the meeting of Mayor and Council. If you would all rise for the invocation from Councilman Mike Bradley.
Dear Heavenly Father, Lord and our Master, thank you for this beautiful day you've given us. Thank you for the people gathered in this room whose primary goal is each and every day to make our city a little bit better than it was the day before. Thank you, God, for the gift of this. Give us wisdom, strength, and faith. Keep it ever strong. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Will you stay standing for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may be seated. All right. Are there any changes to the agenda for tonight's meeting?
No, sir, there are not.
All right. Going to get approval for the council meeting on May 28th. If I can receive a motion.
Councilman Holland, Mr. Mayor, I make that motion.
All right, we have a motion from Councilman Holland. Do I hear a second?
I second the motion.
A second from Councilman Mike Bradley. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, passes unanimously. Going to move on to the approval for the budget meeting number 1 that we had on May 7th. If I can receive a motion to approve those minutes.
Mr. Mayor, Councilman Holland, I make that motion.
All right, we have a motion from Councilman Holland. Do I have a second?
I second.
A second from Vice Mayor Dan Henderson. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, those passed. And last one, we need to approve the minutes from the budget workshop, the second one we had on May 21st. Do we have a motion on those minutes?
Mr. Mayor, Councilman Holland, I make that motion also.
All right. Councilman Holland with the motion. Is there a second?
I second it.
Second from Councilman Mike Bradley. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay. Now we get to move on to a very rewarding experience. Every year, the mayor gets to award the Mayor's Right Choice Award. Been doing this for quite a few years. Always a highlight to recognize one of the youth in our area for their due diligence in school, being a role model to people in the community and participating in community spirit. And this year, our award nominee is Elena Neese. I don't know if Elena's family are in the audience. Okay. Would you come forward, please? If you would come forward, we're going to do a photo op, if you don't mind. Oh, that's right. Thank you for reminding me. So, from my understanding, Elena immediately is headed out to Utah to begin her college education at the Brigham Young University?
Yes.
Excellent.
That's
yeah.
great.
Yeah, well. Please pass along our heartfelt congratulations. That's a pretty nice award for a young person getting their education. All right, next on our agenda, we're going to move on to public comment. Is there anybody here for public comment this evening?
Yes, tonight we have Miss Bonnie Page.
Bonnie Page.
Hello.
Hello.
Greetings
Good
to
evening.
everyone. My name is Bonnie Page. I reside at 709 Wolford Street in Seaford, Delaware, and I'm here once again tonight to complain about the drug activity that is on Wolford and North Street, which is my neighborhood. It may have calmed down a little bit, but it is still going on every day. Okay, I have like traffic stops in front of my house because they are selling drugs on the corner, and the people who are buying them have to stop and get it. You see the whole transaction with them getting the money and putting the drugs out of the car. There's a black van that has been parked at the corner of Wolford Street. This is the third day, okay? And people are walking by and knocking on the van, and they're opening the door and they're dealing drugs. And I know that things can't happen overnight, but I'm just here to plead that if in some way it could be looked at every day and not on some days, because they have not stopped. It may not be all day, but it is every day, okay? And this is people congregating together to listen to music, to cuss, to do whatever they want to do. And it's not their neighborhood, but it is mine. And I care about that because I care about my life and the life of my family. Okay, that is the one point that I wanted to make. The other is that I'm here for an approval of a request that I made for a handicap parking. And I assume that's like later in the agenda.
Yes, ma'am, it is.
Anybody have any questions for me? No?
No
Okay,
questions.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else here for a public comment?
Renty Chavez.
Ms. Chavez?
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Council. Thank you, guys. I didn't realize I'd be before the garden talked, but basically, I'm Brenty Chavez, and I work with Children and Families First, Seaford Community of Hope. I know a lot of you have participated in one way or another in one of our programs, but basically, I'm here to, first and foremost, congratulate Cass and the whole team at the Seaford Community Garden for what they're doing, and just show our support, and also ask you guys, with these kinds of initiatives that are happening to better the city, that we want to feel, your support with us, too.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else here for public comment?
That is everyone.
That's everybody. Okay. All right. We'll move on to correspondence. Do we have any correspondence?
No, sir, we do not.
Okay. I'm going to move on to new business number 1. Speaking of which, Cass Day is here to give the City Council an update regarding the 2024 Community Garden.
Hi, everybody.
Good evening.
Evening.
Good evening, and new mayor, Mr. McCoy, as well as new council-elect, thank you so much for coming. Well, thank you so much for having us this evening here, the Seaford Community Garden. Would like to thank you for all your support in the city, keeping our area and neighborhood clean and positive. We appreciate that. My name, if you don't know, is Cass Day. I started the community garden with an idea about 3 years ago, just an inkling of idea to have a community-based program in the city of Seaford. And within a 3-year period of time, that has come to life in many ways. The garden is not just about growing tomatoes, it's about growing a community. So thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. Our mission as the Seaford Community Garden is to provide a communal space where residents can come together to grow food, fresh produce, foster community spirit, and promote sustainable living. Providing a lottery-free gardening space to Seaford veterans. We have ADA accessible garden raised beds as well for anybody with a disability. Also volunteering our time to grow to give to local organizations of those in need. We now, within a year and a half, have developed 3 separate gardens at 214 High Street and then on North Pearl Street. And the new garden we have titled as the Giving Garden. And the Giving Garden is where we volunteer our time, and each row is grown specific foods, and all that food is given to those in need in Seaford. So far to date, we broke grounds this February, the second week of February of this year, on the third lot. And as soon as we had a 72 square foot row of soil down, we put seeds in the ground. And within a 3-month period of time, we are now up to 135 pounds of fresh organic food that we have given to Seaford. So that in itself is an amazing experience and project. So to get back on track, we have successfully grown a variety of vegetables, native flowers, herbs, which contribute to the local food security and offering the source of fresh food and healthy food. We are all organic. We do not use chemicals. We learn how to deal with bugs with using ladybugs and other methods that are all natural. So this way, if we are giving food to an organization who feeds the homeless, this food they're able to just pick up and eat. It's pick up and eat food. It's food to table. This way, they don't have to worry if they're in the woods, if they're homeless, or children whose parents don't know how to cook well. They can just pick up the food and eat it without worrying about the stove. So the garden's idea was again established in February of 2022. Am I supposed to be moving this thing here?
There you go.
Okay. I'm just going to show pictures of what we've been doing the past year and a half or so of our community, our residents, the people in front of you, and many others who are not here this evening. And instead of a full PowerPoint presentation, I thought it'd be a little more important to show the faces and the people who are behind this garden. Again, the garden idea was established in February of 2022. Our first garden section was opened April 2023, so this is only a year ago. And since then, it includes 28 garden plots managed by the community members of all ages. We have successfully grown a variety of vegetables, again, which I mentioned. And we currently have 25 active members who regularly tend to their garden plots and participate in the garden events that we hold as well. And we are growing. Again, just more pictures of events that we're holding and volunteers. And actually, the gentleman on the left was just a gentleman walking down the street one day on Pearl Street. And we said, trabajo gratis. And I was trying to explain that, we work for free. And the gentleman came over and just started digging with us and dug a hole with us and came back a few times. And I never met him before, and here he is. It's a really cool experience. We also host workshops on gardening techniques, sustainability practices, and healthy eating, which have been attended by many of our participants as well. The garden has become a vibrant hub for community interaction. It has helped build stronger neighborhood connections and offered educational opportunities for both children and adults. When I started this idea, I really thought that I'd be teaching children how to grow tomatoes, but it's amazing how many adults I've taught how to grow a tomato. You have a lot of people who move here, transplanted from city areas in New York and Jersey, and they lived in a city building and never grew a tomato before or lettuce. And here we are teaching adults as well as the youth. So that's really, really cool. We have collaborated with local schools for educational programs, giving students hands-on experiences in gardening and environmental stewardship. We have worked with the National Junior Honor Society at the Seaford Middle School last year. We had gone to the classroom once a month. We talked about growing plants and native plants. We had them design a monarch butterfly preservation garden that we included into our garden in our vets area. And they had come down with, we were able to receive credits for their Honor Society class to help maintain that garden, and they helped plant it and maintain it for the year. We've worked with the Boy Scouts at the time. It was Troop 249, but I know the Boy Scouts have merged, but there is another troop that's looking to work with us. The Girl Scouts, we also had St. John Preschool had come down with the littles and their parents and teachers, and they brought us down stepping stones to add to our new garden, which I believe in the next picture you'll see. And they also were able to plant with us sunflowers and peas, and we had the Seaford Star paper come down, take pictures, and these kids were very proud. And I've seen them come down to the garden since then. I've seen messages on Facebook from the parents saying how cool of an experience, and on their own time, they just come down and walk through the garden. And that's what this is about. We've worked with the American Legion and the VFW, the auxiliary department of the VFW, Post 4961, helped build the veterans raised beds that we have for veterans. So it was a nice tie and a collaboration. And I guess the point is here is that we're working with community organizations all over Seaford the best we can. We're trying to unify the people in our area. You know, the surrounding roads and side roads there that were very quiet and dark and empty lotted are now coming out and talking together and learning from each other and opening up new doors that have never been opened before in that area. Here on the left, you see we had donated a check to the Seaford Middle School Honor Society children for helping us out. We surprise them with a check. So when we hold a community event, we tend to choose a local organization to surprise with a check of little means that we receive, because we're trying to give back, and that's the point of that. Our produce donations to local food banks and shelters have provided fresh food for many families in need. And again, the number alone just this year of 135 pounds of food, and it's only June, is pretty impressive. And it takes a village. You know, it's a team that does this, and all the volunteers. We have collaborated, again, with the schools, and we're looking to grow with more plans and future plans of working with more schools, more classes, and educate more people as we can, as we grow. To accommodate the growing interest, we plan to expand the garden by adding more plots and installing additional resources, like a rainwater harvesting system with rain barrel water collection for conservatory purposes, benches for more people to sit and be more communically involved, composting areas, and also in the near future, a small on-site greenhouse for growing, so we can extend our growing season down at the gardens. And even if it might be a small greenhouse, we can still have an educational course within that classroom of a greenhouse. So that is our future project that we're in the making now. We aim to create a dedicated handicap garden area and expand our educational programs to include more frequent workshops and guest speakers, including braille signage and musical toned outdoor instruments. So we realize that there is inclusions, you know, in all society. And one of them is not having enough for people with disabilities to be able to come out into the public and do what we do on a daily basis. So when I'm down at the garden, I noticed we don't have that group of people down there. So we decided that we're going to start bringing in braille signage into the gardens throughout the pathways, and then eventually work on musical tones instruments that are outdoor, that's for people with a disability, whether it's autism or blindness or whatnot, and this way they can feel included in our garden space because it is a community garden. So again, future projects, and these are the things that we're going to businesses and local businesses and asking for donations for, is these types of projects. We all are grassrooted volunteers. So that is our future plan. We actively seeking partnerships, again, with local businesses and schools. So the more our word is spread, we would love to see more classrooms and schools come down and be a part of this experience. And we would love to be able to teach them and show them how to grow food for their own families at home. Volunteers are always welcome. We encourage everyone to participate in our upcoming events and community garden days. We have 2 new events coming up. One is we're having a stone soup event this September, and that is to celebrate our volunteers and our donors and our sponsors, and we would like to keep that as an annual event that people can buy tickets to and come and be a part of, to celebrate all the people that, the hard work that they have put in on their own time, with their own hearts. We all have the same mission, and that's to help people. Excuse me. And then our next event will be our 2nd annual Fall Festival, which is going to be October 12th. Down at the community garden. We had our first one last year. It was very successful. We had a lot of vendors and food trucks, and it brought the community together. It was very positive. It was very smooth. We had a great turnout, and we would like to see that continue yearly so we can grow with the community as well. Sorry, I'm not snapping the pictures. An example, we had a seed swap event. All of our events are, you know, free to join, and this was just a way to bring people together and talk about gardening and learn new faces, meet new faces, and so we hold events as much as we can down at the garden for anybody. It's always open to the public. We kindly request the council's support and resources, spreading our awareness, adding the garden to your website within the city, to maybe locals, realtors for the garden to show prosperity, where the garden shows togetherness and beautifies our city as a whole. We believe that this is helped in the real estate field as well to show what a community is about and that Seaford comes together as a community. I think it's a great way to showcase our town. And if I'm looking to move into a new area and I Google that town and I see that there's a community garden, that it's volunteers and residents that grow food, I tend to have a feeling that it's a nice place to live. People are friendly, they're there to help. And so therefore I feel like it's not just about the garden, this can help the city all around. Also leading youth organizations to join our mission in support of our community events we provide. So we also look for your help with that as well, just spreading our message. And if you know businesses or churches or organizations or schools that want to be involved, please feel free to have them reach out to us. It's important. Your support will enable us to strengthen our community ties, promote sustainable practices, and enhance the quality of life for Seaford residents. I would like to know if any of my members would like to have any testimonials, would like to say anything about the garden at all. I know it's not easy to do to get up here and talk, so.
Positive story. Hopefully we have more positive stories like this instead of negativity.
Correct.
Amen.
Yeah. So I actually had another volunteer who wasn't here tonight and wasn't able to be here tonight, so she asked me if I can read this real quickly as her testimonial for the garden. Her name is Allie Quillen. She's a resident of Seaford. Excuse me. And I'm just going to reiterate what she had wrote. As a volunteer for the Seaford Garden for the past year and a half, I would like to offer a testimonial as to the impact this project has had, not only on myself, but on the community. I was born in Baltimore and came to Seaford with my husband Steve, who grew up here, or more precisely in Middleford, in 2016. I'm a retired hospice music therapist, and also Steve and I continue to perform together part-time, and I was looking for an outlet to continue being active and to connect with a community I was unfamiliar with. Through my involvement with this project, I have made many new acquaintances, gotten plenty of exercise, learned a lot about gardening, and had the fulfillment of being a part of contributing fresh vegetables to service organizations and families in need. Due to the tireless efforts of Castay, Seaford Garden has engaged individual, volunteers, businesses, and service organizations in taking 3 empty lots and turning them into a garden that has beautified the downtown area, as well as contributing food to the community. I hope you will consider giving your support to this very worthwhile project. Respectfully, Allie Reed Quillen. So Allie Quillen, we thank you for that. And I will pass on to a new picture. And here are more residents that have come down, volunteered their time. What you see on the right side is our new garden, which is the Given Garden, between North Pearl Street and North Cannon Street. It is a 40 by 170 foot lot, and we have, there are 4 by 18 foot rows, which is 72 square foot in each row that we're putting the food into and growing and giving. We also will ask council if we're able to be put back on the agenda in September or October to discuss our plans for our greenhouse. So we have more of our finances together and our ducks in a row to come back on the agenda to speak about that. I know that we have to go through an application fee to have a greenhouse, and we're looking for an 8 by 12 small greenhouse on that property, the third garden, which is North Pearl Street. And again, you know, we'll come back and hopefully present something that we have more put together, but that is our future goal. So we thank you for your time and consideration, and we look forward to growing and supporting and thriving through the support of our wonderful community, and I am happy to answer any questions that anybody might have.
Any questions from council?
I just have one. I think the Downtown Seaford Association is planning a fall festival as well.
Yeah, it's I believe it's 2 weeks after ours was planned.
So, I mean,
We tried to, we have tried now slowly, we're trying to work with other nonprofit organizations
Okay.
and whatnot in town, and we have approached 1 or 2, and we have not succeeded right now to partner, but we're trying, because we're about community.
right, I was just thinking
Yeah.
if you're both having one, it might be better to have one big one, but,
Correct,
Yes,
yes.
okay.
We did have ours last year, and we had it planned for this year,
Gotcha.
and we weren't able to collaborate on that,
gotcha.
yes.
Any
Anybody else
additional
have any
questions from
questions?
council? I'll make a few remarks. I've, consider myself lucky because I got to see this project come to fruition.
Yeah.
I remember, you coming forward, and we did the first meeting at the Boys and Girls Club years ago. And right from the very beginning, your passion was contagious, and you brought it. And your team grew just like your garden grew. And I remember walking the plots with you and Craig Alamon and Jose Santos, and there was nothing there.
Empty lots. 3
Empty lots. And now to see what you guys have done, like, you know, figuratively and literally, you've grown so much. And
Thank you.
we've been down there a couple times. I highly encourage council, anyone in the city, please take advantage of it. Go down and check it out. We like going on Saturdays sometimes, but it's you've done a marvelous job with it, and you should be commended for that. And I would say you personally have grown a great deal, because I remember the first meeting, you were a little nervous and a little shaky, and then
Oh, I
I'm
still am,
watching
sir.
you now, and you just did a fantastic job. So I commend all of you and the team, and keep it up. We're looking
Neil,
forward to
thank
it.
you very much for
Yeah.
your support. And I will say, if anyone plays chess or checkers, we now have a chess and checker table down in the Veterans Garden for anybody to use. You just bring down your own pieces for the meanwhile. And there's a library box there as well that we use for children's books, as well as gardening and recipe books. So feel free to always come down, have your lunch there, you know, frequent a restaurant in town and have lunch down at the garden.
Well, thank you all for bringing something new and fresh to the community. We
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.
We want to continuously see this grow in Seaford.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Thank you very much for your time, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. And before we leave,
Oh, yeah.
the garden always has presents for everybody. So typically when we go to a presentation, whether it's Lions Club or Kiwanis or whatnot, we like to bring a house plant. So this is for your council to have in your office. A spider plant with a transcendia, which is now called a wandering dude. And it's beautiful to put in the sunlight. Would you like to? Oh, this way? Yeah. We can get closer. Thank you. And for everybody on the table, I'm sorry to take more time, but we have grown, and went from kindergarten to, you know, moving on up. To the east side, on the east side? Yes, it's for all who know that show. We have, now have recycling grocery bags that we hope you use and spread our word.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And
Thank
there
you,
might be
dear.
a little,
Appreciate it.
Another one or two things in there.
Thank you, Cass.
And that's for you. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you.
I think the real test will be when you come back in September to
you.
see whether anybody's killed the plant yet.
There you are. And there was one extra for Mr. Kulik, which I
Yep.
believe you. Thank you again.
Well, thank you
Thank
very much,
you.
Cass. Appreciate it.
I don't want to leave.
All right. We'll move on to new business, number 2.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mayor. So at the last council meeting on the 28th of May, Ms. Bonnie Page was here and did request consideration for an on-street handicap parking space in front of her home at 709 Wolford Street. We do have an application that has been submitted by Ms. Page. It's in your packages. She did complete that. Staff did go survey the location, the parking space. We had the deputy chief and the chief involved, as well as the director of public works. You'll see there in the pictures, as required by the application and the policy, she does not have a driveway. So that's one of the tests that the application requires. And she does have a handicap tag, a handicap approval to park. You'll see she handwrote on the bottom of it, if possible, I would prefer the first parking space from Chandler Street in front of my house at 709 Wolford Street. So the day that I was there and took that picture, where she's talking about is where that black van or it might be a Traverse is sitting. So that's directly across the street from her home. Did speak with the Director of Public Works. He can place the necessary sign on the sidewalk there to delineate it, as well as the necessary street markings, once he can get that scheduled, should council approve it. Deputy Chief Mike Rappa, who is here, did do some research on that. It is legal for enforcement purposes. The caveat is that we will need to get a specialized sign that it is for parking at this location specifically. the Director of Public Works can provide that specific signage. Additionally, the requirement of our policy is that all of the adjacent neighbors be notified via regular mail. So you'll see our city clerk, Ms. Stewart, did send the attached letter to all those residents that are adjacent. We did not, I did not receive any comments back from any of those residents. However, I will say, Mayor, the policy does state that adjoining property owners who may be most affected by the request will be notified, so they may have the opportunity to attend the council meeting and submit their concerns. So you just may want to ask if anyone is in attendance.
Okay. Let's do that right now. Is there anybody in attendance at this council meeting that has an objection? Okay, I think we're clear there.
And then certainly, should council have any questions, our Director of Public Works and our Deputy Chief is here and can try to field any questions council might have.
All right. Are there any questions from council? Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm very appreciative of the city administration finding a creative way to make an accommodation for Ms. Page. But I just want to caution you that it is a handicap spot and someone else with a handicap could use it. So it's not, it may not end up being exclusive to your use, Ms. Page. So I hope you can understand that someone else with a handicap can legally park there.
Okay. Can I speak from here?
Come on up. Yep. Please.
So I understand that, okay? And it's also, or what I believe, that if someone is there and they do not have a handicap plaque,
Oh, that's enforceable.
then
Yeah.
I could call 911 to have that car removed, because I will ask them at first to move their car, but if they don't, then I'm going to carry it further. Okay, and then my other thing, and I didn't bring this up before, and I guess I should have, if there were any other, like, regulations where I could have a parking place on the street, being that I do not have a driveway. But
I'm not sure I understand the question, but the city does not assign parking spaces on street to any one individual or anything like that.
Okay.
These streets are public property.
Okay, that's fine. I'm good with the handicap. Can we just approve it?
Are there any more questions on this matter from council?
No, I'd like to make a motion when you're ready.
Okay. All right, I will accept the motion on this matter.
Councilwoman Grassett, I make a motion to approve the request from Bonnie E. Page to permit an on-street handicap parking space in front of her home located at 709 Wolford Street as presented.
Okay, we have a motion from Councilwoman Grassett. Do I hear a second motion?
Councilman Holland, Mr. Mayor, I second that motion.
All right, I have a second from Councilman Holland. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, it's approved unanimously. There you go. Thank you, Ms. Page, and we'll be in contact regarding your public comment remarks from earlier. Thank you so much. Yes, ma'am. All right, I'm going to move on to new business number 3, presentation for the approval of the FY25 budget.
Good evening, Mayor, council members.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So I'd like to first start by thanking the mayor and council for your participation in the budget process this year. I'd also be remiss if I did not thank the supervisors and directors for their hard work on this budget that's being presented this evening. And we just made some highlights of the FY25 budget overview, and focused in this budget and investments in this budget are as follows. Investment in reliable domestic water production with the relocation of the nylon well, which is needed by our community. funding for Phase 1 of the wastewater treatment plant headworks upgrades. We've talked about that. It's been in our CIP for several years. That's moving forward this year. The proposed budget includes a 6% increase in water and sewer rates to address increased departmental operational costs. So that's the water department and the sewer department. The addition of personnel, equipment, and vehicles in the police department to increase citywide public safety. The proposed budget also includes an 8% increase in water and sewer rates to address these increased costs. Succession planning in our electric department leadership team to address upcoming retirements. That's extremely important, and we appreciate council supporting that succession plan. Just to talk about the budget developmental process, it has been and it always is a very involved, lengthy process. Department directors submitted their operating and capital draft budget requests, projected employee evaluation ratings, and promotions with projected overtime, holiday overtime, and standby hours on March 1st, 2024. So they had done the work in the January-February timeframe for submission, and then we held 3 budget workshops with the mayor and city council. Those dates were May 7th, May 21st, and then most recently last week, June 4th, to develop the final budget draft that is going to be has been circulated this evening. During the budget developmental process, we created this graph just to show where we started. You know, we had a deficit in the beginning when the directors and supervisors submitted their budget of almost $4 million, $3.9 million. There were a lot of wants in this budget, a lot of needs, a lot of personnel needs. So through that process, the directors, supervisors got it down to $2.36 million. And then additionally, through working with the city council and taking in your input, we did work that budget deficit down to $1.53 million. So a lot of effort was done, a lot of give and take by our leadership team here at the city of Seaford. The information in the next few slides is in your budget summary sheet that has been distributed to council. This is just a graphical form of some of that with some historical information. So FY total revenue, FY25 total revenue with internal transfers, FY25 is $64.7 million. So you can see that's the largest budget we've done ever. A lot of capital in this budget. We're fortunate. We'll talk a little bit more about capital, but we're fortunate we have a lot of assistance from the state and other partners for our capital needs. Total revenue without internal transfers. We put this pie graph together to talk about typically our electric fund shown there in the purple, the $20.7 million. That's typically our largest revenue generator. Traditionally, it's always been that way. This year, the sewer fund eclipses it at $23.7 million. Electric is all the power sales to all the businesses. This year, it's all the investments we're making in the water and wastewater sewer fund, the sewer plant this year. So, and then you have the others, the general fund, the golf fund, and the water fund. Again, the water fund's higher than it typically traditionally is. So general fund revenue is about $8.6 million. So roughly what it was in FY24. It's been up in recent years, but pretty average year for general fund revenue. General fund transfer from the electric, as council knows, this is the revenue that we make in electric really underwrites our general fund costs, our police, our other parks and recreation, some of our other general fund things. So that transfer is up $3.3 million. You can see there, just a comment, you can see, through the pandemic how our electric sales really were reduced. A lot of our businesses were shuttered or slowed down significantly. You can see we've steadily come out of that, and we are proceeding to basically the highest transfer we've had since before FY21. So that's some good news. General fund transfer from the sewer fund, that is also up, that $1.7 million. There's a few reasons for that. Revenue has been strong in some of our profit centers there, our septage, our leachate receiving, which we have contracts for and we work with people. Additionally, our agreement with Sussex County through the Unified Sewer District. All that Bridgeville, Greenwood blades are now online, and their flows are growing, so we're able to have those revenues to transfer and also support general fund. General fund transfer from the water fund, we've struggled the last few years, and we haven't transferred any monies. This year, we're transferring $158,000, a little bit larger than that, to assist with balancing the budget. Water fund revenue is up $5.8 million. And again, when we look at these revenue numbers, we at the city, the way we do our accounting, we look at loan proceeds as revenue. So this is not, the revenue we make from water sales or sewer sales wholly. This is the entire budget. Sewer fund revenue, similarly, typically we run in that $6 to $7 million. But because of the large headworks project of about $12 million, that number is up substantially to $23.77 million. Kind of a one-time expenditure for those repairs, but we'll have the debt service as we move forward. Electric fund revenue is up. It's steadily increasing. Again, I believe, and through the analysis we've done, a lot of businesses are now back in the growth mode. They've gotten through the pandemic, and they're moving forward. Total expenditures without capital, just put this together so you can kind of see the relative magnitude. Again, in the green, the $16.48 million, that's the electric distribution, so that purchase of power that we then resell for the $20+ million, it cost us that $16.4 million to do that. Police is at $6.1 million. That's probably the largest police budget we've had because there is growth. We talked about the additional 3 officers in there, and then they have additional vehicles in this budget as well. Capital requests, we touched on that a little bit. This is the largest capital budget that we've put together in my time here with the city at $25.4 million. But I want to focus on this a little bit. That $25 million can be broken down into capital funded with city funds, so that's $17.1 million, and then capital funded with grant funding. So we're leveraging those dollars we're investing with grant funds. Again, there's a lot of loans here for some of these bigger projects that we'll have debt service for going forward, but these are critical water and sewer projects. Property tax collection, we watch this every year. This is up slightly. In FY25, it's projected to be $2.5 million. So we have some organic growth in all the building that's going on. I would like to say this budget does not include a property tax increase, so we've been able to hold property taxes at this level since 2014, I believe was the last time those rates were increased. Realty transfer tax collection, we do watch that. That is lucrative for the city of Seaford. And just an interesting look here, FY21 through FY24, those were actual numbers collected. And then in FY25, that's the budgeted number or anticipated number. There was, in FY23, I'll just point out, there was a couple large transfers of large commercial institutional buildings actually. So that's why that number was a little anomalous. You can see where in FY24, the real estate market softened a little bit, so that directly translates into a little less revenue for the city of Seaford. Reserve account status, we present this annually. So these are monies we have on hand in our golf reserve, water reserve, sewer reserve, and electric reserve. We talk about this quite a bit, talked with the mayor during the budget process. Our goal, we'd like to have about 120 days cash on hand. Should a pandemic occur, should a computer problem occur where we need to get through that problem, we need to have those kinds of resources on hand. It's written very small there, but I'll point it out. This is not total reserves. The total reserve number is $15.7 million that we have available. That is excluding the ARPA funds. That $4.2 million that we were fortunate to receive, that has to be under contract by the year's end and spent out completely by 2026. We are on track to do that and spend down all those funds with Phase 2 of the Western Sussex Business Campus. We watch the general fund reserve account status because this is where we traditionally balance our budget from. This is where we park or put incoming realty transfer tax. And then what we like to see in those general fund reserve balances, we like to see them increase. We had a small hiccup a couple budget years ago. That was due to a large outflow of cash for helping developers. But overall, those reserve accounts are increasing. This is another complicated slide, but this is a further analysis of our reserve transfer history, specifically with realty transfer tax. Traditionally, that's what the councils use to balance their budget. We bring them in, put them in a reserve account, and then we can use them to balance the budget. So that 801,000, that 729,000, the gold bars, those are what we budgeted for realty transfer tax those years. The blue bars is actually at the end of the year, actually what we spent. So you can see there the first 2 years, FY19 and FY20, we never had to spend all those monies. Capital projects wouldn't proceed like we thought. They got delayed. Maybe we don't have as many personnel as we projected. So we save those monies. We keep them in our reserve account. The last few years, FY21 through now FY24, we have actually spent all those reserves. We're not done with FY24 yet. We have a few more days left in that budget cycle. But in speaking with our Director of Finance, we have had to spend those down. Proposed FY25 reserve transfer, due to all the things we've needed to do, with these large projects, with succession planning, additional vehicles in the police department, we have had to lean on our reserves. You see those numbers there, to the tune of $2.362 million to balance this budget. That's one of the higher one of the higher numbers we've had to do in any budget we've created. Hopefully with, once we get people hired in the electric department, we won't have those large expenditures. There'll be several things. A lot of the businesses that are currently expanding under construction those projects will be behind us. Debt service, we do look at that annually. So there you see our total debt currently is $5.4 million. You see each year how much we have to pay. We ran it out through 2028. That trend that you see there going down, you like to see that. You like to see your debt being paid down. So it's just now, right around $600,000 for this budget that's budgeted. I will state that as we do these well projects, as we do these headworks projects and other capital projects, the anticipation is that that trend will reverse and go up for several years. Charges for service. So taxes in FY24 was 34 cents per hundred. FY25 it's proposed to be the same, 34 cents per hundred of assessed value. Again, I believe the last time we raised it was a decade ago, so FY14. Water, last year we did do a 6% increase in water and sewer. Those were the resultant rates per EDU. This year, what's proposed between the two rate increases is 14%. The plan, as presented and budgeted, is to do a 6% rate increase to fund water and sewer departments on July 1st, and then to hire the 3 police officers that the chief has requested and the council has supported. We are planning an 8% water and sewer rate increase on September 1st. So the sum total is the 14%. So we track median household income. It's a measure of affordability of water and sewer rates. So with the proposed rate increase, the water rate would go to $31.10 per EDU. Sewer rate would go to $60.63 per EDU. That combined total is $91.73 per month, or just over $1,100 per year. When you do the math, the combined percentage of median household income is 2.23. So 3% is considered affordable, so we're well below the affordability standard. This is just a slide. I won't spend a lot of time on it. We had a consultant come in last year on May 23rd of 2023, and he did recommend 6% increases 3 years in a row, which council did move forward with on May 23rd. So we just included that in the budget presentation as outlining the plan. Staffing considerations. So the total budget for FY25, total payroll is $7.7 million. That's up 8.25% from last year of $7.1 million. We break it out further just for informational purposes. General employee wage increases are $181,000. That's the plan and the merit adjustment combined. We don't have anyone this year that's at the midpoint analysis. In our pay plan, if you've been in your position for 5 years and you are not at the midpoint of your pay range, you're moved to the midpoint of your pay range. So everybody is at or above the midpoint this year. Just point out that the Teamsters Union, that's our sworn officers, their collective bargaining agreement, we have a few more years on that. It expires 6/30/26. And our IBEW, that's our electric department union, contract expires 6/30/26 as well. Our staff was very busy when they negotiated these because both were back to back. I'll say our census for union versus non-union employees, we have about 59 plus or minus non-union employees, and the remainder of the 90 plus or minus are union employees. Just to talk about the general employee compensation plan adjustment, that's the pay plan itself. We adjust it annually to keep it current with inflation. So we track it. It's back since FY20. You see there where, inflation was pretty flat for a decade or more. So our pay plan, we moved it gradually. And then in FY23 and 24, after the pandemic, there was a lot of inflation and there was a lot of pressure on wages. So we did move that pay plan forward to try to keep it current. In this FY25 budget, the proposed plan adjustment is 2%. I'll just make a comment and a note that included in this budget is an amount, I believe it's $50,000 for bringing in a compensation consultant to relook at our pay plan. Council has committed to do that every 5 years. And the last time we did it was 2019. So we're on schedule to do it. Look at our pay plan, make sure it's current, make sure it's fair, if there's any adjustments that need to be made. So that's the pay plan adjustment. Then we do have a merit adjustment for employees as well. So depending upon your evaluation that you receive, you'll be ranked according to your evaluation, and then you will get the adjustment, the pay plan adjustment, as well as the merit adjustment. So if you meet expectations, you'll get a 2% pay plan adjustment and a 2% merit adjustment. So these are combined numbers. Just a little bit, and our chief is here, and he is absolutely the expert. I'm going to do my best through this. But this is our existing staffing in the police department. 28 sworn officers currently on duty, and then 3 recruits, so there's 31. He lays out where the departments are, so on and so forth. In this budget, he requested adding 3 additional officers, and that would take him up to 36 in staffing. Council did support that with this budget and the increases included. I will add Chief Kraft and his staff, they did ask for 5 additional, and through the budget process, he did agree he could get through this year with 3 additional. So the need is definitely there, and it is appreciated. Council did support this. And I believe that is the last slide. If we can answer any questions for council, our directors and our chief are here. We will certainly try to field any questions council might have.
Okay. Are there any questions from council? Okay. Without any additional questions, I'll accept the motion.
Councilman Holland, Mr. Mayor, I make the motion to approve the FY '25 budget as presented.
Councilman Henderson, I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, it's approved unanimously. Before we move on to new business number 5, I will take a second to also echo the sentiments of our city manager. We went back and forth on this for months. And I know the city employees worked very diligently on this. I know the city council worked very diligently on this. And a lot of back and forth. And I'm just proud of everybody's efforts behind this budget. Yes, sir.
Mr. Mayor, before you move on, is there another motion? You skipped 4, you need to make that also.
We will now.
Yeah, you skipped to 5.
Well,
We did 3.
how miscounted? You are correct. Yes,
Yeah, right.
Councilman. Okay. So yes, we do need to set the motion for new business number 4. Can I set the
Okay.
motion for that?
Mr. Mayor, Councilman Holland, I make the motion to approve the fee and rate schedules and revise the changes for water and sewer service as approved in the FY '25 budget. 6% increase with an effective date of July 1st, 2024, and an 8% increase with an effective date of September the 1st, 2024, as presented.
Okay, we have a motion. Do I have a second?
Councilwoman Grassett, I second that motion.
All right, we have a second. For all those in favor, say aye. All those opposed? Okay, that approves unanimously. I'm going to move on to new business number 5. I believe Chief of Police Marshall Kraft and Deputy Chief Mike Rappa.
The chief's gonna
Keep me straight, man. Thank you.
leave it to the deputy chief.
Got my back.
Mayor, council.
Good evening.
Evening.
So what we've gone into is starting a community camera registry. This is all part of a project we've been working on for several months now with the HELP initiative. So this camera registry is from our Flocka West Elite system, which was purchased through grant money with help from the HELP initiative to create a kind of a crime initiative or crime investigative center for us to be able to view cameras that are city-owned. But what this camera registry does is it allows the community to get involved, and that's what we need. We need help from the community. We can only do so much during our investigations. So there's 3 ways through this website that you can go to get enrolled. Is enroll your camera in the registry. You can integrate your own cameras if you have a business, or you can purchase cameras from Flock. But I'm just sticking basically with what we do. Big concern for people is what will the police see? Nothing. We will not have access to your cameras. We can't see anything. All this is a portal for the community to go into to put in basic information. Your name, address, phone number, email address, so that, and the location of your cameras. Basically what that does is, instead of us going door to door like we used to do back in the day, to see if you had cameras or witness anything, we can contact you by phone or email. It also allows people who are afraid to have contact with us for fear of retribution to kind of go about it in a different way, where we're not coming to your door, because we'll be able to see who's got cameras in that area and be able to reach out to them. So when we're doing this, we can use we would contact through phone, see if they can look to see if they have video at a specific date and time. And if they could, send it to us. We'll email them a link through our evidence.com with Axon, and it'll get sent right to us electronically and be entered into our digital evidence system through Axon. As I stated, it provides a discreet way for community members to provide us information. The integrated cameras, that's businesses. They have a system, too far. They can actually go through Flock and pay to have it imported into our system. At that point, and once they're integrated to businesses, we can view them if we click on them. But that's between the business and Flock Safety. Purchase cameras, again, that's between whoever wants to purchase them. Like Woodland Mills did that. Who else? Lowe's has got 4 LPRs. Eventually, when they go live, they will let us have access to them.
Button happy.
Yeah, actually, my hand's just hovering over it. So, right on the city website, there's a widget, camera registry. If, see if it'll work here. What's that? Right arrow? No? I got it. I'm new to this technology stuff.
Oh, you're trying to go to the website.
Yeah,
It's not
it's not.
gonna work.
I can pull up.
It's just for
Okay,
looks
I
there.
tried.
No hyperlink.
That's right, no hyperlink.
We'll just go here. You can go to the city webpage and go through it that way. It'll take you right to the link. Also, this is the rec webpage address where you can go, and it'll have 3 icons at the bottom. This is all part of our VCR initiative throughout the city. Any questions? And I had 2 minutes to do this. I'm not sure if I stated, and I was told to.
Good job, Deputy. Anybody got any questions for Deputy Chief? Okay, I will comment. I got a chance to field a couple questions from residents this past week.
Yeah.
Deputy Chief provided me a few minutes of his time, walked me through a couple things. So I think it's already has some benefits. People are seeing it, and they're making comments and asking what's going on. So I think it's a good thing, good, productive conversation. So I appreciate you and your team's effort.
Yeah, the big thing is what can we see? Everyone,
sir.
that's always the first question,
Yes, sir.
is what can we have access to?
Well, thank you all very much.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to new business number 6.
Mr. Bennett.
And Director Bill Bennett.
Good evening, Mayor and Council, City Manager.
Good evening.
We went out to bid to order 5 switch cabinets, pad mounted switch cabinets. Opened the bids on June the 5th from 2 different suppliers, both of them through Annixter Wesco supplied, but Federal Pacific and S&C switchgear. We've used both of these vendors, both these manufacturers in the past. They both meet all of the specifications. When you add in the end fittings that you need, for the Federal Pacific switchgear, it's $206,825. For the S&C, it's $194,561. The difference being $12,264. But after reviewing the bids, looking at delivery time, the Federal Pacific is a 45-week delivery, and S&C is at 70 weeks delivery. These switch cabinets, 2 of them will be used at Allen Capitol Shopping Center and 3 of them at Western Sussex Business Campus. So it's not just items we're putting out to put in inventory. So my recommendation would be to award the bid to Annixter Wesco for their Federal Pacific switchgear for the total of $206,825, basing that on the delivery time.
Okay. Are there any questions for Director Bill Bennett?
Why would there be a difference if, and I'm just getting my head around it in terms of same company, same manufacturing,
Well-
different sources for materials? I mean,
Yeah, it's coming from the same vendor for me, from Annixter, but they represent many different, manufacturers. Federal Pacific right now, just has a quicker delivery time than S&C does. Both of them pre-COVID had about a 16-week delivery. So it's just, it hadn't gotten any better yet in the switch cabinet, switch gear industry. And they'll tell you it's supplies from their vendors that they use to build their cabinets and hardware inside the cabinet from.
I was just curious more than anything.
Yeah.
Are there any additional questions for Director Bennett? If not, I'll set the motion.
I would like to make a motion to approve the, whoops. Let's make sure I'm at the right one, I'm sorry. I would like to make a motion to award the bid for the 14.4 kV switchgear to Annixter Wesco in the amount of $206,825 as presented.
Okay, we have a motion from Councilman Bradley. Do we have a second?
Mr. Mayor, Councilman Holland, second that motion.
Okay, we have a second from Councilman Holland. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, approved unanimously. Thank you, Derek.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right, and now on to new business number 7 and our Director of Economic Development, Tricia Newcomer.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm excited to actually be presenting this tonight. It's hard to believe that we've had our DD designation for a period of 10 years. I can honestly say before I do get into the presentation, being part of this transformation has probably been one of the most rewarding parts of my career, to see the transformation in downtown that has happened in the last 10 years. And you'll see in the slide as I get to it what the investments have been made. So just as a little bit of background for some of you that are new, this was enacted by the Senate legislation, SB 191, in June of 2014. We had, by the time they got regulations together, we had probably about a month to pull together a quick plan to try to apply for this designation that we weren't 100% certain would even really pan out. But Seaford was very fortunate to be one of the first 3 communities. There's 12 today, but we were the first Sussex community to be awarded the designation in 2015. We originally went in with the C3 corridor, so from the river to King Street and from Front Street to the bridge. So that it was already a delineated area based on our zoning, so that's the section that we took in. And then they changed some of the regulations that gave us some additional acreage. So we were able to go back and expand that corridor. It actually then goes up the North Street side all the way up to where Dunkin' Donuts is. And that was done based on some of the commercial and residential, because you kind of want both together versus just a residential section. And that's also one of the main arteries coming in. It's contiguous to our downtown, so we thought that they made a cohesive match, and we were able to make that change. So since our designation, we have had 4 large grant projects, so that the thresholds have changed a bit. Originally, it was anything that was larger than a $250,000 project was a large grant. Large grants actually have to apply for a reservation in advance. They have to have all their ducks in a row, submit that, and they only have 2 cycles through the state a year to be able to do a reservation. And then that project has to be completed within 3 years. It has to go through a CPA attestation. There's a lot more work into the large projects, but there's also a lot more dollars that come back. Those receive, I think the smallest large grant that was received about $600,000. So we had 4 of those. And then where we've really seen success in downtown is the small grants. And these are residential, commercial, mixed use, So all in, all encompassing, we've had over $30 million of private investment that's been leveraged against the $2.9 million of rebates from the state, county incentives, and city incentives, which is a pretty good return on investment. And when we went in for our designation, downtown was probably at a 95% vacancy rate. You're pretty hard pressed to find a commercial spot in downtown now. So we are at the point, they finally decided that we can, communities can do an extension. You get a 5-year extension. You have to do a plan amendment to do that. So we are at that point where our extension, our designation, I'll get my words out in a minute, expires in 2025. So we have to submit by July 1. We've modified the plan. It's basically the same plan, but with a focus. And what we've done is, because where we brought that Front Street corridor in sort of late in the game, if you will, the focus originally was mainly on High Street, and we've done a tremendous job there. We really want to push and drive energy on that Front Street corridor. And stuff has changed. There have been some habitat houses that have come up over there, and in fact, I actually talked to someone today that's doing a project on North Street or Front Street that's actually putting in for an application. So definitely the interest is there. The developers are well versed in this program, so we want to make sure that we continue our designation to be able to allow them to do that. The way it's written right now, that this designation would be from 25 to 2030. At 2030, we would have then one last shot to do a plan amendment and then a 5-year extension. After that, then we're done. So you'll note that on this sheet, we do call out a couple of the properties on Front Street. And it's not to say that those are the only properties that we want to see funded anything in the DDD anywhere, whether it's High Street, Front Street, King Street. They can be funded. But these are some ones that we've actually just called out that are very specific blights. And we would, when a project goes in, I, as the district administrator, have to fill out a form, and there's a question on there: are these projects designated in your plan as preferred projects? And so we really wanted to get some of those on there, because in their scoring on that end, if it's a preferred project, it will get a little bit higher scoring, particularly if it's in that large grant category. So hopeful that you guys, I know I sent that out early in advance of the agenda because it is a large document. And it's exciting to see all the things in there. We actually have referenced some of the nonprofits. The community garden has been added to our plan. So that's exciting to be able to share with the state. So hopefully we can get this in. They will get this on the cabinet committee, and I'm hopeful that I can come back and say that we got it extended for another 5 years.
All right. Are there any questions for our economic development leader, just a newcomer from council? Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Can you expand a little bit more on how, assuming this is successful when we get an extension, how this is going to work in with the streetscape plan for Front Street, because that was in the planning session?
Correct. So we actually referenced that in the plan, and that is, it would all be cohesive in hopes, in essence. And that's sort of our line of thinking when we did the Front Street concept plan to begin with, because we know we had done the pedestrian improvement downtown. We knew we had brought in this Front Street area, and we're really trying to tie the two together, but they didn't marry. So that's from the city perspective, our, if you will, skin in the game to help that area. And we reference that in the plan that, the city is looking to do this, that we do have made motions to get there, that we're not there yet, but hopefully it'll all work together.
So it was 25 years ago or so that we did the streetscaping on High Street?
Yes.
So
yes.
It was 25 years
totally appropriate
to become
Absolutely.
an overnight success.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's a good way of looking at it.
You know, that was 16 years prior to the DDD, so are we planning, I know it takes funds, but are we planning to, if you build it, they will come type thing, do the streetscape prior to
I mean, if,
some of these targeted projects?
I mean, it would be great to be able to implement the streetscaping project. I think you hit the nail on the head. Funding is going to be critical, a critical aspect. In working with our Director of Public Works, the TAP funds that we utilized for Gateway Park recently, I'm being told they're currently exhausted. But if that program comes back, we have, or is funded, we have familiarity with that. That's a, I say short term, but that could, Mr. Mears turned that one around in, I'm gonna say it was 3 years. He might give me a little further, but you know, that was pretty quick in the grand scheme of things for city projects. We felt like we needed to put it in the plan, because if we didn't stand as good a chance to get funding should the opportunity arise.
Thanks.
Absolutely.
Any additional questions from council?
Just a comment. I was here 25 years ago, and I got the impression at that time that Seaford had the hopes of becoming another Lewis, because it sort of, if you compared the two towns, it seemed to have some similarities, which was going to be a physical impossibility. That being said, 25 years later, a lot of things have changed. 113 is now considered the beach. People are migrating over here. So to answer your question, I think some people will be coming, because the same people that aren't going to spend $500,000 to $750,000 over on that side of the county may want to spend $350 or $400 over here.
Very good. Any additional questions from council?
Could I just, a
By all
point of
means.
privilege, thank you, Mayor. I'd just like to point out, you know, this plan amendment was done in-house. A lot of effort, all the maps that you see were done by our code inspector, Buddy Lynch. So a lot of effort in a short amount of time by our Director of Economic Development, our staff. So they're to be commended for pulling this together and
Absolutely.
putting us in a position to be able to compete for the extension of this benefit for our residents.
It's definitely a team effort.
And I'll echo those sentiments as well. I mean, it's, you know, we're very fortunate to see you guys work, really, honestly, and to see some of the things you guys have done with different businesses and to hear it from the businesses. Friday, I was speaking to a business owner, and he referenced DDD just openly to me and how it's benefited their business. And that's what you want to hear. And we've seen you guys lay these plans, and to be fortunate to be on this side of it, to see it come to fruition, is an awesome experience. So I know you and your team have done a terrific job.
Yeah, we've had property owners, and I won't name who the property owner was, but they got through a project, wasn't really sure what this was about, and I explained it. I said it's a very simple project, because their project was a small grant. You just need your receipts, your invoices, all of those things. The state will work with you. I said, you're potentially leaving $50,000 on the table based on your investment. I'm like, what? And filled out the application, and they were quite pleased when they received a check for over $40,000 from the state of Delaware, free and clear.
So it is working. Hopefully businesses are listening. So,
Exactly.
all right. If there are no additional questions, I would like to proceed with a motion on new business number 7.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve resolution R number 1-2024, approving the Downtown Development District Planned Amendment as presented.
Okay. We have a motion. Do I have a second, please?
I second the motion.
All right. Councilman Bradley, a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, it's approved unanimously.
Just for,
Skip one.
We did skip
just for
number 7 again,
purposes,
yeah.
could we fall back and do
Yep.
the
Nope.
district plan just for?
I'm sorry, I
That's
found
okay.
the wrong
We're
one.
work in progress up here.
That's- we needed to
We're
get
just
done.
excited.
That was cut off in my screen.
Yes, sir.
I make a motion to approve the Downtown District Downtown Development District Plan Amendment as presented.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Do I have a second?
I second it.
Councilman Brazos, second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, passed unanimously. Thanks so much.
We'll keep you posted.
Yes, ma'am, thank you. All right, so we're going to skip on down to new business number 9. I have addendums to number 2, the wastewater service agreement.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Good evening.
Good evening. So what this is basically just a recommendation from me to clean up some language in our agreement with the Sussex County Unified Sewer District, Sanitary Sewer District. Back when we made the agreement with them, me put in I referenced a chapter in there that is no longer applicable to what we use now, because some years back we went ahead and we renumbered our sewer ordinance. So when we reference that chapter that's in the agreement, it doesn't lead you anywhere. So this is just an amendment to it to clean up the right chapter.
All right. Are there any questions from council for Director Meters? Okay, if no questions, I'd like to seek a motion.
Councilwoman Grassett, I'd like to make a motion to approve Addendum 2 to the wastewater service agreement between the City of Seaford and Sussex County that would amend Section 9 of the agreement to base impact fees charged in the Unified Sanitary Sewer District to be based on the City of Seaford's Municipal Code, Chapter 11, Article 7, as presented.
All right, we have a motion. Do I have a second?
Councilman Holland, I'll second that motion.
Councilman Holland, a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, it passes unanimous. Now on to old business, number 1, building official Mike Bailey.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, City Manager. I'm here to talk about a different type of flock than what you heard about earlier. So we were approached recently by Cross Christian Academy about them wanting to have a small chicken installation at their school. So we went out, we did a little field trip down to Laurel Middle School, checked out their operation. They have a very nice setup there. They have a little coop. I think it's a chicken condo, actually, is what she said she got it from. That was the middle school. This one is over at their Laurel High School. It's more hand-built, but it's still very nice. They can go inside the little shed there in the back. They have that screened-in area to move around in. And she gave us some good information on what they have there and what is preferred as far as the size of these coops and things like that. So we took that information. I found some other codes online, modified them to fit what we think would work here. And what we're proposing is to have this added in the R1, R2, and C2 districts as a special use exception, meaning that the potential applicant would have to come forth to the Board of Adjustment and meet these requirements to get permission to host chickens on there as part of their program. So I'll just read what we have drafted here for the special exceptions. So it's for the keeping of chickens as part of an educational curriculum that is through a chartered FFA chapter through the Delaware FFA Association or National FFA Association. So it has to be a legitimate agricultural curriculum under an FFA umbrella through a school. No more than 12 chickens per property. Roosters shall be prohibited. No slaughtering of chickens. All chickens shall be housed in a roofed coop that is stationary, secure, and enclosed in a way that contains the chickens, restricts predators from entering, and the coop shall be reviewed and approved by the building official. Minimum coop size shall be 4 square feet per chicken. This is a number we got from the ag teacher down in Laurel. And the maximum overall coop size shall not exceed 48 square feet. So that's your 12 chickens. Outside run is permitted when it's attached to the coop, and if an outside run is provided, that shall be no bigger than 10 square feet per chicken and shall also be enclosed in a way that contains the chickens. Coops, runs, or other appurtenances shall be constructed in a rear yard and shall not be within 100 feet of any main building on an adjacent lot. So we want that to be 100 feet away from the nearest house or neighbor structure. All coops, runs, and other things shall be subject to the setbacks for accessory structures, which is 5 feet from the property line. All coops and runs shall be screened from view at ground level by adjacent lots by using a fencing, landscaping, or a combination thereof. Any odors associated with chickens shall not be discernible from the property lines, and the chickens shall be registered with the Delaware Department of Agriculture. You can go on their website, register a backyard flock, and they send you correspondence whether if there's an outbreak of certain diseases or anything like that. And a permit shall be required for the construction of the coops. So this is what we have drafted. If council desires, we can bring it back for a first reading, and we'll schedule a public hearing for the zoning changes later on.
And Mr. Bailey, just if you wouldn't mind, you are proposing to include this in R1, R2, and C2 district.
C2, because that.
Could you just expound upon why?
That's where schools are typically located currently. We have schools in all 3 of those zoning districts right now.
And one last comment, when we met with the FFA instructor in Laurel, again, very informative, it was worth going
Right,
down
it's
there.
very nice.
She volunteered a lot of information, but interestingly enough, Mr. Bailey talked about registering the flock, which, you know, I was not aware of. But also, she was asked about, you know, does she take her students to the fair? And she shared she does. It's interesting that when she does do that, she has to notify the State Department of Agriculture. They actually test the birds prior to moving them.
Right.
And taking them, and they actually give approval. And I guess they deny it if the birds are sick or have any issues. So I was unaware that there was that kind of oversight of these small backyard flocks.
Mm-hmm. And just by being there, you associate chickens with odors and stuff. I didn't smell any of that at their facility, so they keep it very neat and clean.
Now, I will say, you know, the setting that Laurel's in, Laurel School is in, maybe if you could just go back one picture, there, that picture there is not the world's greatest, but you can see there's woods behind them, and that, I'd estimate, Mr. Bailey, that to be several hundred yards.
Yeah, they're more out in the rural, you know, outside of the center city in Laurel. So it's more apt to have that at their location. It's going to be more difficult to fit these in center city, but.
Seaford's more urbanized than this site for sure, but I think the building official's done a good job stating that, you know, he added that extra layer. It's no closer than 100 feet to any adjacent structures or buildings, so that gives the residents some measure of protection. But, you know, obviously this location is certainly fine.
Very good. Are there any questions from council regarding old business number 1? Vice Mayor.
I remain concerned about biosecurity. I know it says that the chickens shall be registered with the Delaware Department of Agriculture, but is the department going to be proactive or reactive about the flock? My major concern is that poultry industry, maybe besides tourism, is the largest industry in the county. Mm-hmm. And I certainly wouldn't want to be responsible for the epicenter of an epidemic.
Chicken gate.
By having it in the center of the city and getting out onto some farms and, you know, causing economic havoc.
I can't answer that question. I don't know how active they are with these backyard flocks.
Well,
you know, I know they're registered, but
yeah, and I know they'll probably send out correspondence if there is an outbreak on a large farm that notify the backyard flocks that, hey, this is out there, protect your flock. But the backyard flocks, I'm not sure.
Well, I'm not
if anything's going to come out of that.
I'm thinking more of an institution or a flock within the town or within the city affecting outside flocks. And because you have students coming and going.
Right.
You know, it's not a closed setting, and there's no protocols like there are on a commercial farm. Doesn't seem like, I'm not, I just have concerns.
Councilman?
Well, I'm gonna be quite frank, I'm not in favor of it at all, and for several reasons. One, I thought the gentleman was a little condescending when he was here, and I felt like we were being put on the spot, and he mentioned mental health, and you know, I did a little research, as many of you know, and there are other ways to provide good mental health to students. I can't imagine mentoring with a chicken, improving my mental health situation, versus having a dog or a pet that was brought into school that periodically came in, that one of the members of the faculty could be a custodian over. I'm very concerned about the care of them during the summer months when they will be left for long periods of time. And you know, I went online today to see what the pricing was in terms of what the expense would be for one. So if you get something halfway decent, it's $3,650, and you assemble it yourself. Both of my children went to that school for a number of years until 2008, 9, and the area is limited. We live in a society today where it is easier to ask for forgiveness than it is permission, and with a number of people in the city seeing someone else do it, they feel like they will be able to do the same thing. I spoke to somebody else today that if they should have some sort of illness with the chickens, many times those people are quarantined until it's resolved. And I'll be quite frank, I think we're opening a can of worms here. Laurel is a totally different area where that is located. You're only about a half a mile from farmland. We are right in the epicenter. You've got 2 restaurants within just a few feet. I don't think it's a good idea for the city, and that's my own personal opinion. I appreciate your efforts, but I think we're really opening a can of worms.
I had one question. Based on the parameters that you've set, and you went and looked at the Cross Christian Academy, correct?
Yeah, I've been.
Would they be able to meet these requirements?
Yes, I believe so. They could
Okay.
find a location on their site that would be 100 feet from
Okay.
any neighboring dwelling. Yes.
Councilman Holland?
Michael Charles, when you went, did they say that who took care of the chickens when school was out?
Yeah, she actually
Since
answered that question. She's actually a 12-month employee with the Laurel School District, so she's there all year long.
I was,
Yeah, I don't know if Cross Christian Academy has the same.
She
Right,
did,
that's what I was-
she did say
yeah.
there was one person that if she's gone, I think she's 9 months employed. 11 months.
Yes,
Yeah.
she had a volunteer, yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, they collect eggs, so they do have to work out. And I'm sure if she takes vacation, this person helps her out.
yeah, I was going to say, I was the principal of Laurel High School. And I know, yeah, they're 11 months because of the fair and because of being able to take animals to the fair and take care of that. So I knew it was 11-month. Yep.
Yeah, I don't know if Cross Christian Academy has that same setup or not, or who would be responsible.
I'm not sure at all.
Yeah.
Are there any additional questions from council or comments? Okay, thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Okay, if there are no additional questions, I'll proceed with a motion. Okay. Doesn't sound like we have a motion. Okay. Matter like this, the motion, what is our protocol?
So this item will die due to lack of a motion. And then, hearing nothing different from the city council, I will notify the Cross Christian Academy this issue has died due to lack of promotion.
Okay. We'll proceed accordingly. All right. I'm going to move on to reminder of meetings and setting of new meetings.
Thank you, Mayor. City office and utility divisions will be closed June 19th in observation of the Juneteenth holiday. And then just a reminder for everyone, Friday Night Live will be June 21st at 5 p.m. The new venue, as it was last time, is the grass lot here behind City Hall. That's all I have, sir.
All right. Thanks so much. We're going to move on to liaison reports. We're going to begin with Public Works and Wastewater Treatment Facility with Dr. Councilwoman Stephanie Grasset.
I met in my liaison meeting yesterday, and over the past 2 weeks, Public Works has been filling potholes throughout town. Obviously, we all know Stein Highway is getting done, and there are still potholes because it's not done yet, social media. There have been some coupling repairs for their weed sprayers because they've been doing rounds of weed spraying. They have done their VOC sampling at the Arbutus pump station. It's one of the tests that is required by the state to be collected. They have been working on replacing a few broken catch basin grates. They also have a new camera, I believe, that they have used, have started using going down sewer mains, have found some roots, and they're going to try to be proactive and use that camera at different locations to see if there are any issues that they're finding. In wastewater treatment, the plant looks good. They did have a bad dewatering session on 5/26, which required some extra efforts, but things do look better, and I believe that was because of the change in temperature. They have been working on several pumping lift stations and doing things that they need to do there, as well as repairs on the hydraulic hose for their power screen unit and other things. In the next 2 weeks, they're going to continue to use this camera for sewer mains. They're going to be installing 2 new water services on North Street, and they will be performing maintenance as needed at wastewater treatment and compost. And I would be remiss if I did not recognize that our head of our Department of Public Works has a big birthday on Thursday.
Oh, wow.
So happy birthday to Mr. Mears. It is a big one. You can ask him what big one it is later.
He's turning 30 years old.
There you go. And that concludes my report, Mayor.
Very good. Thank you, Councilwoman Grasset. We'll move on to Police and Fire with Vice Mayor Dan Henderson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a report here from Fire Chief Wilson. I'll summarize it. There's a lot of information here, so in the interest of time, I'll abbreviate it. In-city responses for the year for the fire department are 260. For EMS, there's 1,153. Out of the city is 146, and EMS is 718. Total number of assists for fire was 57, and EMS was 95, for a total so far of 463 calls for fire and 1,966 calls for EMS. On June 1st, there was a significant incident with a working residential fire on the 16,000 block of Atlanta Road. That was an assist for Bridgeville. All Seaford Volunteer Fire Department apparatus are in service. You'll see the fuel chart for the number of times at the pump and the amount of gallons used, and the gross cost and the net cost there. Last training was June 5th at the Industrial Park for aerial master stream evolutions. The next training will be Wednesday, June 19th at Station 87 for brush fire unit instruction. You'll see the chart with training hours and the number of people who actually participated, along with the total number of hours in training. Under EMS, ambulance B87 is a third run piece now due to traces of oil in the coolant. They're scheduled with a mechanic to look at the issue outside of the dealership, who's had some trouble finding the issue. They've flushed the system 3 times and still seeing oil in the coolant. So that's, so it's relegated to 3rd run status, and that's the newest ambulance that we have at the moment. EMT Emily Durer completed the EMT FTO process, and she's proceeding to driver training of ambulances. EMT ride-alongs for Delaware State Fire School EMT class have been requesting ride time. You might recall last year that the fire department instituted this, and it's a good way to attract part-time employees for these students who are coming out. They get ride time, they get familiar with the department, and it's a good recruitment tool. Ladder 87 flag detail was at under events. We want to thank all the firefighters who came out to the Little League celebration. It wasn't really opening day, but the weather was too foul for that, so appreciate the Ladder 87 coming out and displaying the stars and stripes for that celebration. Seaford Volunteer Fire Department history note. 97 years ago, on June 9th, 1927, the newspaper reported a Seaford fireman dropped dead while attending the Maryland Fire Convention. The fire department is investigating this to possibly be added to the Delaware Firefighters Memorial. Up to this point, there were no line of duty fatalities in the Seaford Fire Department until this was discovered. And I'm not sure how it was discovered, but
one of the historians, I think.
The chief brought it to our attention. So I think they're trying to get some provenance for this and doing their due diligence to find out what that is. The new standard is a line of, he was in performance of duties at the convention, so that is actually considered a line of duty death. Prior to that, maybe the fire department thought that you had to die while serving or answering a call or something, but this has been reevaluated, and Mr. Flanagan may be recognized. Well, the department's actively seeking to get him recognized for his line of duty death. In the Seaford Police Department, got a full report here from Chief Kraft. You'll see the different columns here. Under 2024, there's 5,378 total calls, and a distribution of those calls are down through the column, and you can compare those with, well, we're basically just shy of half the year, so you can maybe extrapolate that out over previous periods. Under all crimes, there's 209 crimes with the distribution between felony, misdemeanor, violations, civil, and other. We have a 90% clearance rate, which has increased from the last period. We have 16 pending active and 5 pending inactive investigations at this time. You'll see the crime view chart, which is kind of small print, but you can expand it. Shows the columns for days of the week and the most prevalent days of the week where they have service calls or calls. And then the columns to the right is the time of day where you see the most activity during the time of day. Under additional crime data below, there were 13 other complaints of assault, aggravated assault, fraud, indecent exposure, larceny, and weapons charges, and that excluding shoplifting, that's a 54% clearance rate, which is also up from the previous period. Under drug complaints, 21 drug crimes with 21 adult arrests, 1 search warrant, and 1 overdose inside the store at Royal Farms. Under traffic, 302 traffic citations with 114 citations and 26 warnings. That's right about in line with the previous period. 37 crashes, 9 non-reportable and 28 reportable. 6 hit and run. Seems like the frequency of hit and run accidents are increasing, and looks like those were all on, well, one was on a public roadway. Looks like all the others were on private property. Is that right, Chief? Yes. Okay. Thank you. 1 motorcycle accident and 1 pedestrian accident during the period. A number of significant events. On 6/1, there was a shots fired complaint on Harvest Way in Muirfield. You can, I'll abbreviate that to the last sentence where through their investigation, all 5 occupants were charged with trespass, 2nd degree, possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony, possessing a firearm by a person prohibited due to marijuana, and possession with intent to distribute concealed firearm, 3 charges on that, and possession of a silencer. So some of these substances and the firearms were taken out of play. I'm thankful for the police department's action on that. Pardon me. I'll let you go through that on some of those significant calls. There was, on the 9th of June, I will point this out, Seaford Police Department was dispatched to Cherry Blossom Lane, Bel Air, to assist the Delaware State Police Homicide and SWAT team with the execution of a SWAT search warrant. Seaford Police Department assisted with perimeter security by blocking the roadway and assisting with the evacuation of several neighbors. Once the scene was declared safe, the residents returned to their homes. Thankfully, there was no actual violence at the scene, but we're thankful to the department and to the state police for their pursuit of this suspect. Move down to training. The SPEAR team training is ongoing. It's twice a month with the team members. The police recruit training, which began on April 7th, is due to end on August 30th. The three recruits, I'm told, are doing well. June 1st, there was a school safety seminar hosted by the Secret Service. SRO Detective Wingate attended. And June 3rd through June 7th, the Command Leadership Institute with the FBI Lead a Trilogy Award was attended by Sergeant Lorien and Sergeant Justice. And the chief will be attending, he did attend the McLaughlin Policy Board meeting, June 5th and through 7th. And finally, wrap it up with the cadet snippet. The cadets handled multiple unclassified misdemeanor complaints resulting in 7 criminal arrests, 3 criminal summonses issued, and authored 2 arrest warrants. Cadets also assisted patrol by conducting several nonviolent prisoner transports to Sussex Correctional Institute, conducted bicycle patrols and pedestrian stops, and they assisted with community events. Additionally, the cadet Morales assisted with translating on multiple occasions. During the meeting, liaison meeting with the chief, it was mentioned that there's been a positive impact with bicycle patrols and just seeing increased presence around town with the cadets and officers as well. So that's really positive news. So thank the chief and his department for those ongoing activities. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. We're going to move on to administration and IT with Councilman Orlando Holland.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We met with representatives from the USDA about wastewater treatment expansion funding opportunities, and they attended a meeting concerning the River Fest tribute meeting held concerning the 2024 float-in, and they also made a present at the Citizen Police Academy graduation, and the site visit was made to Laurel High School to look at their ag chicken raising program. And IT is busily installing 8 security cameras with more to be installed, and they attended various other meetings and events, and all the work is routine. That concludes my report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman. I'm going to move on to electric and Councilman Mike Bradley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The electric department finished with the Hometown Hero brackets. They sprayed under the solar panels, sprayed the fence line along the industrial park, reviewed plans for Governor's Grant, went to the site, had a meeting with GMB about a Phase 4, and that concludes my report.
Thank you very much, Councilman. Councilman Alan Quillen could not be here this evening. He submitted his liaison report for Parks and Rec and Code. Feel free to review them at your leisure. And with that, when called an evening, I do need to solicit a motion to adjourn.
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
All right. Councilman Orlando Holland has given the motion. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Second from Vice Mayor Henderson. Excuse me. Would all those in favor say aye?
Aye.
All those opposed? All right. And we're out of here.